Howdy, y'all. We're going to get started with our notes for today. For those of you who are wondering about your Unit 6 test grade, that will be finalized tomorrow. And so give me some patience on that. As y'all can see, they're just exactly where you left them when you turned them in. And so today we're kicking off Unit 7, and we are going to learn about polyhedrons. What is a polyhedron? That is our goal for today. And so the topic of our notes, go ahead and title your notes that you picked up from the front table. Go ahead and title them Polyhedrons. "3D solids." That's what we're going to title them. Polyhedrons. "3D solids." And our central question for today is, what is a base? Hopefully, by the end of today, you will be able to answer that question. And so we're going to start off by defining a polyhedron. What is a polyhedron? A polyhedron is a solid bounded by polygons. And so we know that polygons are closed figures with straight sides that do not overlap. So, a polyhedron is a solid bounded by polygons, and all of those shapes, all of those polygons that make up of our solid, those are called faces. An edge is a segment formed by two faces intersecting. So where two polygons touch, they're going to touch at an edge. And a vertex on a polyhedron is a point where three or more edges meet. And so we're going to label all of these key characters, key players on our polyhedron below. And so our polyhedron below, every single face is a rectangle. And so we're familiar with rectangles from Unit 6. All of our rectangle properties apply to each face on this polyhedron. And so if you have a highlighter, you can highlight your edge. If you don't have one, feel free to pause this video and go pick one up from the front table. And so this right here, this is an edge. And this shaded rectangle is a face. And last but not least, you can exaggerate this point right here and point to that as a vertex. And so when we remember that polygons are closed figures with straight sides that do not overlap, then we can classify our 3D world and break it down into either polyhedrons, where we have polygons for the faces, or non-polyhedrons. And so what are some polyhedrons that you're familiar with? One would be this box, but maybe you have seen a pyramid or triangular prism. So what I'm drawing here is a triangular prism. To draw a triangular prism, first you're going to draw a triangle, and then you're going to draw another triangle approximately the same shape, and you stagger them from each other, and then just connect the vertices of your triangles with straight lines. So if you need to use a straight edge or a protractor, you can ask the sub for one, or you can get one off of the back bookshelf. And so this triangular prism is a polyhedron because all the faces are polygons. Next, I am drawing a square pyramid. So I'm going to draw what looks like a parallelogram, but that is to show the various, perspective. And so it's just to put our shape in perspective. So we're going to draw a little parallelogram and then place a point somewhere in space above our parallelogram. And once you have that point, you can connect with a straight line to each corner of your parallelogram. And what you will draw is a pyramid. And so these are polyhedrons. But what are some shapes that you're very familiar with that are not polyhedrons? We use the non-polyhedrons more in our day-to-day life. For example, here we have a ball, a sphere, a globe, a marble. We see these everywhere. This is not a polyhedron either. This is a cone. So we're going to draw a cone by drawing an oval. An oval, please. All right, we'll see if we can get one. There we go. We're going to draw an oval, and then you can draw a straight line from the edges of your oval, and you'll have what looks really similar to a cone. And if you want to get really fancy with it, you can make that back curve shaded to draw your cone. And our last solid that is not a polyhedron because it has curves, these are not straight lines, that you're probably really familiar with, is a can, also known as a cylinder. And so while these are 3D solids and geometric solids, they are not polyhedrons because their faces are not polygons. And so now we get to practice identifying our 3D solids. We're asked, is it a polyhedron? Well, this right here, this upside down cone, is that a polyhedron? We're going to say no. This, it looks like we have every face is a closed figure with straight sides that do not overlap. So yes, this is a polyhedron. What about this shape? What do you think? Yes, this is a polyhedron. And our last shape is a 3D composite. So we talked about composites in our 2D unit, Unit 6, about how we put two shapes together. On your test, you might remember we had a square with a trapezoid on top. And so here we have a cube with a half cylinder on top. This is a composite. Because the cylinder has a curve, while it can be broken down into geometric solids, no, it is not a polyhedron. So let's talk about how further ways that you can classify solids. So once we know that something is a polyhedron, it is going to fit into one of two categories. It's either going to be a prism or a pyramid. And so how can you tell them apart? A prism is a 3D solid that has two bases. And so if you're wondering what a base is, I will be happy to tell you. And so on a polyhedron, the bases are the parallel and congruent faces. And so on this polyhedron right here, our bases are the pentagons on the top and on the bottom. They're parallel. This pentagon will never run into the bottom pentagon, and they are the exact same shape. This pentagon on top is the exact same shape as the pentagon on the bottom. They're congruent. And so prisms are going to have rectangles for lateral faces. So on a prism, the lateral faces will all be rectangles. And so lateral still means sides. So if you remember, equilateral, that means all the sides are equal. And so when we're talking about the sides of a prism, all of our sides are rectangles. And so let's go ahead and label that as a lateral face. And so the other type of polyhedron that we can have is a pyramid. And a pyramid just has one base. And on this base, the pyramid is a triangle. And so something that will help you throughout the unit is if you get in the habit now of highlighting your bases. So if you grabbed a highlighter for above, go ahead and use your highlighter to highlight the two pentagons on your prism. The pentagons are the bases. And now we can highlight this bottom triangle as our base. And so a pyramid is always going to have one base. And in a pyramid, the lateral faces are not rectangles, but rather the lateral faces are triangles. All the sides are triangles. And just a good fun fact to know that this vertex right here in a pyramid gets a special name, and it's also known as the apex. And so now that we know what polyhedrons are and that there's two different kinds, we're going to go ahead and classify these 3D solids as either a prism or a pyramid. And so when we look at our first shape, we have to ask the question, does it have one base or does it have two bases? Do we have sides that are triangles or do we have sides that are rectangles? So is this a prism or a pyramid? Well, our first shape right here is in fact a pyramid. But when we name it, we're not just going to say that it's a pyramid, we are going to name it by its base. So let's go ahead and highlight the base. What shape is our base? Our base is a hexagon. And so this would be called a hexagonal pyramid. Hexagonal pyramid. And this right here, what do you think? Do we have one base or do we have two bases? So if you said two bases, then you know that this is a prism. We have a prism. What kind of prism? Well, this would be a rectangular prism. And so our next shape, is this a prism or a pyramid? This is a pyramid. But before we move on, we forgot to highlight our bases here. So let's go ahead and highlight our bases on our rectangular prism. And so if you said that this is a pyramid, then you know that this right here is our base, and our base is a square. And so since our base is a square, we can call this a square pyramid. And our last 3D solid to classify, do you think this is a prism or a pyramid? Do we have one base or do we have two bases? That is, two parallel and congruent faces. Well, I really hope that you said that this was a prism. These right triangles in the front and in the back are parallel and congruent faces. This is a triangular prism. And so now we have a lot of space for us to sketch some nets. And so what is a net? A net is a 2D, two-dimensional depiction of a 3D solid. It's as if you were to take your solid, your box or your pyramid, and you were to unfold it. What would it look like if it was unfolded? And so we're going to sketch the net of each of our polyhedrons above. And so our first polyhedron, what would the net of a hexagonal pyramid look like? Well, it's going to look like one hexagon. So draw a hexagon to the best of your ability. Just sketch it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. And off each side of our regular hexagon, and our hexagon is the base, we're going to draw a triangle off of each side of our hexagon. And we'll end up with 6 triangles, 1 hexagon, a total of 7 faces. How many polygons? There are 7 polygons, 6 triangles, 1 hexagon. So we have 7 faces. And so what would a rectangular prism look like if we were to unfold it? Well, this one above has some long, skinny rectangles. So we're going to draw 4 long, skinny rectangles. I'm going to cheat and use technology to help me. You use a straight edge or just do the best that you can. And so these are all my lateral faces, these faces that go around. And then we can draw off to the side are 2 bases. So this is a base, this is a base. And if you feel like I'm going too fast, feel free to pause this video so you can take the time you want to make your pictures look the way that's going to best help you be successful in your exit ticket. And so next we're going to sketch the net of a square pyramid. So what shapes, what faces do we have? So one, we have a square. So that's our base. And then off of each square, we can draw the lateral faces, which is all of our triangles. And so do go ahead and label this your base. And our last shape, we're going to draw the net of our triangular prism. If I were to unfold this triangular prism, we're going to have 3 rectangles and 2 triangles, a total of 5 faces. And so we can draw one skinny long rectangle for all 3 of our lateral faces. And then I'm just going to draw a right triangle off to the side, and then another right triangle, which is going to have to be kind of upside down and mirrored over here. Go ahead and label that a base and a base. And all of these 2D sketches are called nets. And so please use these notes to help you finish the exit ticket that's on Canvas. So where can you find that? Let me show that to you real quick. You're going to open up Canvas, and right here under November 6th, you'll see the notes where you're watching this video, of course, and then you can press next if you want to get the exit ticket. Go ahead and click that Launch External Tool button and get started with your first problem. Let's take a look at our first problem. And so your first problem might be a little bit different than mine, but you're going to answer the question, what is the net of this polyhedron? So what would this look like if you unfolded? What picture matches? And so good luck on your exit ticket, and I will see y'all on Wednesday, and I hope you enjoy your day off of school tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.